What's going on, guys? Back to the range today with the Henry 4570 all-weather edition, black furniture. But I'm here shooting this thing, so I want to sight in the Vortex HD Razor. Expensive scope. It's not the most expensive, but I mean it's pricey. And I don't do a lot of distance shooting, right? But I always love the look of this. You know, all black is always cool. You know, it always complements pretty much everything. But it was just something about this finish and this color I just always loved. It just looks great. And I think it complements the finish of this gun well. And I put it on my like FDE type version AR, and it looks great on that too. It's just the color play. Looks good. It looks cool. So I'm here today trying to sight it in on this. To give you an idea, I'm at 100 yards. I got a target set up at 50 and 100. At 100 yards, all the way up at 6 times. I can see the target well. It's probably taking up half of the center of the crosshair, so it's not right up on the target, but I can see it perfectly fine. And of course, this is adjustable from all the way 1 time to 6 times. I'll tell you though, one thing, just initial impressions of the scope. And this is probably most scopes, but with this style mount, to do your adjustments for how much you want the magnification for, you know, your fingers kind of get in the way and it hits the mount. So I would definitely want to put one of those, I don't even know what they're called exactly, but those finger adjustment knobs. It's kind of like a knob that attaches onto the grooves here, and it's easy just to flip it over to one side or the other, so you don't have to sit here and try to twist it and twist it and twist it. So let's try to get it sighted in here, and what I'm shooting is some Steinel Ammunition. They're an outfit out of Ohio, you know, American-made stuff, stayed over for me. I'm in Pennsylvania, so I saw them on Instagram, and they make a lot of, you know, off-caliber stuff, a lot of unique type ammunition. And so they had a bunch of different loads, 4570, and I just have a couple of variations of it here. I got from 1400 feet per second, 1610 feet per second, and 1911 feet per second. And it goes from 300 grain, 400 grain, and 325 grain. All of these three are trapdoor safe, so it's lighter recoil loads. They do make some higher power stuff, but I'm told from talking, you know, with the guys over there at Steinel that it's violent. It's a violent load. The recoil is very violent, and you need a certain. They recommend a certain amount of relief in your scope, because if you're too close on it, I mean, it's likely to come back and smack you in the face. So, you know, I was like, well, I'm just going to go with some lighter recoil stuff. Let's load her up here. Let's get a couple done. We'll start off with the 1400 feet per second stuff and just kind of get it sighted in. Now, if you're familiar with 4570 at all, you'll know that 4570 is not going to be the greatest caliber at a really long distance. It's not, you know, like a 30-06, you know, that type of stuff. But it's still like a good hunting round. You know, people use for deer and things like that. I mean, I'm sure it's definitely capable of taking down bigger game if you were out there hunting bigger game with something like this. All right, 1400 feet per second. Problem is, I don't have a spotting scope with me. I know I forgot something. I can't tell exactly. Can't see exactly if where that hit. A bench rest would be nice as well. Action on the Henry is very smooth. Trigger pull is nice. Alright, that was 3 rounds, 1400 feet per second. So let's go ahead and mark those 3 off. We'll bump it up to the 1600 feet per second. See if I need to do any dialing in of the scope. But it looked like, I mean, just from what I could see from here, it looked like it was pretty good, pretty well on target. So let's take a look. Alright, so it looks like from marking off my shots, I actually missed a target on one of them. May have been the first one. Slightly left. One is low left, the other one is just left. So I don't think it's too far off. I'm going to try to bring it over to the right a little bit. And it could have been for me, you know. I don't have a bench rest here. I'm more or less doing it offhand. I mean, I am resting my shoulder, but you know, it does move a little bit, especially at distance. And I'm shooting at a small target. It's only a paper plate, you know, probably 8, 10-inch target. So like a head-sized target at 100 yards. I'm on there, which is good. So let's load her up with some hotter stuff. See what happens. This is the 1600 feet per second, 400 grain. Let's take a look at that. Do another three rounds. And I'll move her over to the right just a little bit. A few clicks there. Yeah, I've never had the Henry on film, but it is a smooth shooting gun. And if you're familiar with Henry at all, they just released, well, some time ago now, the actual side loading gate, which is more of your traditional type lever actions or cowboy guns. So they got the side loading gate now, which is nice. It's a cool little touch. This isn't a bad way to load. I just don't prefer it. I just think it takes more time, and you can just just be a cowboy and put them in there. The lower velocity stuff didn't kick as hard. This kicked noticeably harder. Not hurting the shoulder, but just a noticeably harder kick. Alright, I'll move her over a little bit more to the right. Go check out and see where those were. We'll move on up to the high velocity stuff. So now this is a 325 grain bullet, so it's a little lighter of a bullet. Velocity is almost 2,000 feet per second, 1,911 feet per second. And this stuff is cool. I mean, just going off the look, it's like I call it the golden bullet, like a golden tip, brass type finish bullet. Pretty cool. I'm very curious at what their high recoil stuff feels like. Guy said it's very violent. I just, I was nervous. Didn't want to get smacked in the face, you know? Alright, so here we go. Definitely a harder kick. Again, not enough to hurt your shoulder, but enough to feel a good little punch, you know? Just a solid push. I flinched on that one. I flinched hard on that one. Really wish I had brought my spotting scope. Now this does have a rear adjustment eye relief piece as well, kind of focus you in if it's a little blurry when you're zoomed. I might have missed all three. I'll tell you, the scope is nice. First shots fired with the scope, I was on target. If it would have been a bigger target, you know, probably would have been on every time. Let's throw two more in here. Can't tell. Stuff is hot. The question you got to ask yourself is, at what ranges are you going to be using these rounds if you're looking for 45-70? Because if you're going to keep jumping around like I'm doing, just shooting these rounds for fun, you're going to have inconsistencies, right? So if you get dialed in for a certain grain bullet, certain velocity bullet, and if you jump to something lower, something higher, you're going to be off. It's going to change. I mean, that's just the nature of ballistics. Let's try it one more time with the high velocity stuff. I'll try to hold lower, because what I was doing, I was holding center. I'll try to hold low. I'll try to hold down here and see if that brings it up. So I'm going to try to hold low. I was holding dead center, just like every time. Now, you saw that I was pretty much center and to the left, maybe a little low on a couple of those. And again, I attribute that to me. I'm not a professional shooter, and I don't have a bench rest, so I'm basically offhand here. So let's try it again. I'm going to hold low. I'm going to hold at the bottom of the target. I'll tell you what, the glass on this Vortex is as clear as can be. Perfect glass. These rounds do kick pretty good, but this has a nice rubber butt pad here, so it's not hurting. I mean, I think for me the sweet spot is going to be these two rounds, either the 400 grain 1600 foot or the 300 grain 1400 foot. I think those are the sweet spot for me as far as staying on target and not have to do a whole lot of adjustments. Now you're gonna have to adjust any scope. I mean, just this one out of the box, it pretty much was sighted in at 100 yards. All three loads are nice loads. Just depends on what you're looking for. Initial impressions of the scope. The glass is perfectly clear. The adjustments are nice. The only issue with the adjustments is, it's not that it's hard to turn, it's just you can't get a good spin on it all the way because your fingers hit the mount at the bottom. So I would definitely put on one of those tabs, thumb tabs, to just quickly move it over. But what's nice is to be able to adjust from 1 to 6. So if you're out hunting, you got a deer in, 50 yards, you can just slide this thing down to 2 times power and 50 yards. I mean, that's a perfect shot. And I think the ease and the quickness of being able to adjust this times 6 at 50 yards, I mean, I'm right up on it. I mean, that target is clear as can be. That small target I'm using is clear as can be. You know what? Just for fun, let's take one of the golden bullets. Let's just throw one at 50 yards. I do not have the camera set up at 50 yards. I have it set up at 100. But we can take a walk down and check it out. Let's see what this does here. I got it set at 6 times power. I'm right up on that target. So let's see where this thing falls at 50 yards. 2 inches to the left and maybe 1.5 inches or so high. So a little high left. I'm not sure what happened there. I was holding low. I don't want this to be a testament to the quality of their loads because it's great quality. It's me. I'm not a professional shooter, so this, for me, is good on this small target at 100 yards. So I got one here low of the higher velocity stuff, another one here high. So I'm all over. 100 yards, any tiny movement is inches down range. So without a bench rest, any tiny little movement is throwing your shot off at distance. I'm sure if this target was bigger, 2, 3 times the size, I'd be in it. Let's go take a look at that 50 yarder, see what it looked like. Holding dead center, I was only roughly 1.5 inches high and to the left. So real quick, I had a couple leftover pumpkins from Halloween I forgot about. So I got a small one set up at 50 yards. And let's see, take the low velocity stuff, see if I can't hit it. Put 2 in, hopefully I can hit it in 2 rounds. It's a small pumpkin, the only problem is pumpkins are getting soft. So it might not actually pop like I'm hoping it would. Let's see. Oh, it fell. I think I hit it. Again, it didn't pop. I think I hit it. Hit it, blew out the top, unless it rolled over. I had to check the footage. Yeah, even with a soft pumpkin, it still did some pretty good damage. All right, so I got a bigger pumpkin set up downrange. Doesn't feel anywhere near as soft. And I got one of the mid-power rounds. See what happens, offhand. 25 yards out. Still set at times 6, so the scope is pretty much really eating up that whole target. Took a big old chunk out of her. All right, let's throw one of the golden bullets at it. The higher velocity stuff. It is already, halfway exploded, but just throw one at it again. Oh man, it's nothing like shooting at stuff, you know what I mean? All right guys, so final thoughts. The scope, great. Worth the money, sure. Is it expensive? It is. Glass is perfectly clear. The adjustments, plus and negative for blurriness at whatever distance you're shooting at. Enough where you shouldn't really have much of any problem as far as finding your sweet spot. It is a really nice scope. This is the first time I've had the Henry out on camera. Henry is a beautiful gun. Action is smooth, everything about it is nice. And the ammo, the Steinel ammo. You saw I had 3 different varieties of stuff that they make, and they make more. I'm not a professional shooter, but at 100 yards with 45-70, I'm on target. And I think with more time and getting your scope, whatever scope you use, if it's not one of these higher end model Vortex scopes, getting it dialed in, once you're dialed in, you're gonna be on. I'm shooting offhand, I'm in the target. All right, guys, again, thanks for watching. Don't forget Steve MP5 on Instagram. Like and subscribe, share the videos, and don't forget to check out Steinel Ammo. And of course, everybody knows Vortex. Check them out. They always make good quality stuff. I own a bunch of them. So, and this scope, no different. Good quality. All right, guys, thanks for watching. See you next time.